Hi everybody, it's Mr. Oakes. So we're going to continue today with solving equations by talking about when equations have variables on both sides. So the ones we've been doing, the variable's been on only one side of the equal sign. So now we're going to deal with what happens when variables on both sides. So the big trick with any time you're doing solving an equation is to get the variable by itself. That means get it on one side of the equal sign. So when we have the variable on both sides, we have a little extra step here. What I tell my students to do is when I'm looking at this, to look at the two variables and see which one has the smaller coefficient. The coefficient is the number that's in front of the variable. So in this example, 8x minus 10 equals 4x minus 30. We have a coefficient of 8 in front of this x and a coefficient of 4 in front of this x. So the smaller of those two is the 4. Now the reason I tell people to look for the smaller of the two coefficients is so that when we move and combine the two coefficients together, that we will wind up with a positive coefficient in front of the variable. This is more of a preference than a necessity. You could always have a negative coefficient in front of the variable. It just means you have to pay attention to what you're doing later on. Okay, so when I look at this again, this 4x is smaller. The 4 is smaller than the 8. So we're going to move this term here. So as always, we're going to do the opposite operation. This is a positive 4, so we're going to subtract 4x from both sides. That cancels out. 8x minus 4x gives us 4x, bring down the minus 10, and then we bring down the negative 30. It's a negative 30 now because since we got rid of this term, the minus now is thought of as a negative. And we just now do the steps. Now this is a two-step equation, so now we just do our normal steps. Start with the negative 10, that has to move. So the opposite of a negative 10, positive 10. So let's add that to both sides. Cancel that out. Bring down the 4x. Negative 30 plus 10. We are more negative than we are positive, so our answer is going to be negative. 30 minus 10 is 20. And then we take our last step. This is 4 times x, so we're going to divide by 4 because that's how we undo multiplication. Do it to both sides. Remember, whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do to the other side. So I cross those out, and x equals negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So x equals negative 5. So that's the basic steps right there. So now we're just going to do a couple more as practice. So here, I'm going to have it where I have negatives. Okay, so I have negatives as my coefficients on both sides of the equal sign. And how do I deal with that? So this first one, negative 8x minus 4 equals negative 7x plus 2. Now the thing to remember is that when we have negative numbers, the numbers that normally we would think are bigger actually wind up being smaller. So I always say, think of it as you're digging a hole. This is something I got from Stand and Deliver, great movie. All right, where negative numbers are the hole and positive numbers are the dirt. So as I look at this, what's deeper? A hole that's 8 feet deep or a hole that's 7 feet deep? The hole that's 8 feet deep. So our negative 8 is actually the smaller number. So that's the one that we're going to move to the opposite side. So the opposite of a negative 8x is a positive 8x. Cross those out. The negative 4 comes down. And if we look, we are more positive. So I'm not going to put a plus here. I just know that when I don't have a sign in front of a number, the number's positive. 8 minus 7 is 1. I don't have to put the 1 in front of the x, but if you feel comfortable doing that, that's what you want to do, then you do that. It doesn't make it wrong. So I'm going to write x plus 2. And now I'm just going to go and I got to move this 2. My x is on the right hand side, it's going to stay on the right hand side. So I'm going to move that 2. Do the opposite, minus 2, minus 2. X equals negative 6. I have a hole that's 4 feet deep, and then I dig another 2 feet deeper. More deep, the absolute value of the number is positive, so it's going to be more, 6. I'm getting deeper, going to go more negative. Negative 6, more negative. Okay? So this one, chose this one because we have here negative x plus 7 equals negative 4x minus 20. As I was saying here, when I have an x that doesn't have a number in front of it, then I can think of it as a 1. If I have an x that only has a negative there, I can think of it as a negative 1x. So I look here, and again I say, which hole is deeper? A hole that's 1 foot deep, or a hole that's 4 feet deep? A hole that's 4 feet deep. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. More positive, so my answer is going to be positive. 4 minus 1 is 3x. Bring down the plus 7. That's already canceled out. Negative 20. My x is on the left hand side. It's going to stay on the left hand side. I don't want to move it. Alright? So, now I look. I have this plus 7. That's got to go away. Opposite of a plus 7, minus 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. That cancels out. I'm left with 3x on the left hand side. Both are negative, so I'm going to keep that negative because I have a negative 20 and I'm going more negative. I'm taking away, I'm getting more negative. So 20 and then another 7 is 27. Now I got to take care of this multiplication. Opposite of multiplication is division. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. Negative divided by a positive, again, that's going to be a negative. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So our answer is x equals negative 9. 2 more problems, and then we're done. The last thing is if we have one coefficient is negative, the other coefficient is positive. I'm going to make it very simple. The negative coefficient is always going to be the one that we move, because a negative is always going to be smaller than a positive. If I have a negative 500 and I have a positive 3, the 3 is bigger because it's positive. The negative 500 is way negative. It's way, way, way down there. 3 is positive. Negative 500 is negative. Positive's always bigger than a negative. So, negative 2x minus 6 equals 3x minus 21. So I have a negative 2x, I have a 3x. This is positive, so that's the bigger number, so this is the one we have to move. Opposite of a negative 2x is a positive 2x. Bring down the negative 6. 3 plus 2 is 5, so 5x minus 21. Our variable's on the right hand side, so it stays on the right hand side. Opposite of a negative 21, or minus 21, is plus. Plus 21 on the right hand side, plus 21 on the left hand side of the equal sign. These two cancel out. 21, we're more positive, so 21 minus 6 is 15. Bring down the 5x. Now we just have to get rid of that 5. Since it's multiplying, the opposite is division. Divide by 5, divide by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay? Last one. Here we go. X minus 6 equals negative 3x plus 22. Again, here's our x. What number is its coefficient? 1. Is 1 bigger than a negative 3? Yes, because it's positive. It's always going to be bigger than a negative number. So we're going to move the negative 3. Opposite of a negative, positive 3. Cancel that out. 1 plus 3 is 4x minus 6 equals 22. It's on the left-hand side. It's going to stay on the left-hand side. Got to move this minus 6. So we're going to do the opposite. Add 6, add 6. 4x equals 28. All we have left is to take care of that 4. Opposite of multiplication, division. Those two cancel out. 28 divided by 4 is 7. And that's all we do. I hope this was helpful. I hope you better understand how to solve equations that have variables on both sides of the equal sign. If you liked the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.